Hi everybody, in this solver example we have a company that manufactures four different products, four different soil type mixes, I guess we'd call it. And there are four different ingredients in different proportions that go into making this. What we want to figure out, what would be the best mix of product being, manufactured, I guess, right? Where we get the best margin, the best profit, all right? We're going to have constraints built into this, just like the last video, where we want to make sure that the quantities that we produce, and that's what we're going to be doing here, those quantities are whole numbers, that those quantities meet a certain minimum, and the quantity that we produce doesn't cause us to use more in ingredients than what we have on hand for the four that we have here, right? So quite a bit to go through. Now again, if you're doing this by hand, this would take you literally days to figure out probably, and it might even take you longer. And even at that point, you might not have the best perfect mix of manufacturing, for each of the four products there, to give you that best overall profit, see? So that can be a major problem. So again, we have the solver to take care of this. All we have to do is just make sure we've got the worksheet set up properly. So again, on this one, if this is of interest to any of you out there, make sure you go click on the tab on the side there and download this file, and then you'll be able to model yours against it and can kind of go from there. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over into the data tab. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and click on the solver, and we've got a blank solver here. So our overall goal in this situation is, our objective is that this cell right here, and I'll just go click onto it, which is I-16, we want to make that maximum. We want to get the most we can with that. And the cells that the computer is going to be plugging in are going to be the quantities that we want to produce or manufacture, all right? So in that case, you click onto here, and then we would just select those four cells, just like that. Now, if I were to just use the solver at this point, it's going to come up with some absurd quantities to produce here. I mean, unbelievable. So the first thing we're going to do, though, to make it stay in line where it won't use up more inventory than what we have on hand, is we'll set one of the criteria, or constraints in this case. Well, first of all, I want to make sure that we produce at least 10 of each of these, all right? So the minimum amount to be produced will be 10. That'll be our first constraint. So we'll go over here to add, all right? And then the references will be, as far as what we've got here, that these quantities that it plugs in have to be greater than or equal to, and then 10. And we'll OK that, and that's our first criteria. The second one will be that when it comes to these same numbers, that it uses whole numbers. In other words, I don't want to see 11.7 or something like that. So I'll add another constraint that says in that same range, all right, all the numbers in there will have to be integers, okay? And then we'll hit OK on that. Now, if that's all we do, chances are it's going to produce so much in quantity amongst all of these, or just maybe even just one, where it completely exceeds the ingredients that we have, right? What we have on hand to manufacture this stuff, right? So what we're going to have to do, as we did in that last one, is make sure, let me go on the right side here, make sure that what we use will be less than or equal to what we have on hand, right? So how do we do that? Well, we'll hit add, right? And we'll say that this quantity here, one for one on this, right, have to be less than or equal to, and then for the constraint will be that there. Okay, so these numbers have to be less than or equal to these numbers here. Hit OK on that, and that should do it. So then we'll go ahead and hit solve. There we go. This will pop up, and then all we have to do is just hit OK, and there we go. So there it is, and it looks like it maxed out the mulch and minerals, and did a good job on the first two. Soil especially, didn't use a lot of that, but and also too compost there, but overall that was what it had to do. So if you change any of these numbers, you might end up, increasing the margin, but then one of these will probably go over. So to prove that, let's just say on this one right here, I'll make that 11. All right, enter that in, and now we're at 1623 versus 16, 76 over that one, and the rest were okay there, but still we overused. We got more profit, but that didn't help. So now if I go back and I'll just hit undo, now that profit will go back down again. So we are right at the edge. We can't do any better than what it did for us there. So hopefully that that helps. Now let's say, for instance, we go, okay, now that I look at this, the fact that it made only 10 bags of orchid pop, we definitely need, we got an idea from our manager that we need at least, or sales manager, that we need to make at least 15 bags of the orchid mix, okay? So 15 of those, all right? And also 15 on, and maybe 12 on the veggie grow. So 15 and 12, let's say, right? So now, of course, when we do that, it'll still keep within the constraints here, but it will definitely minimize the, or make the margin go down a little bit. So how do we go and do that? We'll go back into Solver, and what we'll say here is that we'll do add, and we'll say that this number right here has to be, we'll just say equal to 15, all right? Add that one. I'll hit OK there. Oh. And while this is still open here, we can just go ahead and hit this one here and say that that one has to be equal to 12. All right. And then we'll just, now we'll hit OK, and that'll get us out. Now there's the two constraints. And now let's first of all take a look at our profit. Our profit right now is $38.96, right? Okay, so we'll do solve. Hit OK. And that brought us down maybe about $150 or whatever, less in that. But at least we're keeping our salespeople happy. We'll have produced enough for our customers, making them happy. And if that costs us a little bit in profit, so be it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe can use this. I appreciate it. Take care.